Hello and welcome back to the ARC Hive Podcast. I am so excited as we're kicking off season 2. Our first guest, I had to bring her back onto the podcast, is my bestie, Carrie Miller Smaczny. And we are going to talk about business besties and the power of creative partnerships in entrepreneurship. Because this season really, truly would not have happened without Carrie. So welcome back, Carrie, to the podcast.
Thank you for having me, Amy. I love being here.
Well, I love having you here. And just like this podcast episodes, season 1 wouldn't have happened without Carrie. Season 2 is really all about encouraging us to get outside our comfort zone. And a lot of times we don't do that ourselves. But let's just back up. So to remind people a little bit about Carrie, she is a creative force in the Pilates industry. She's a sound healer, a breath work practitioner. She is a soul-led entrepreneur, and I'm lucky enough to call her my best bestie, business and outside of that. Overall, just amazing human. And we want to dive in a little bit to the concept of a business bestie and not just how it kind of sounds cute, but honestly, it is crucial. And we're going to dive into this whole thing, but let's back up. Let's talk about what have you been up to? Because it's been about 6 months probably since we did the first season.
Yeah, so it's been full. So I teach sound bath, I teach breath work, I do a little bit online. I have a yoga studio that I'm able to sublease and I run my monthly classes there. I also work part-time for a local studio here in Arizona. I teach advanced classical Pilates, intermediate, and then a new hybrid class of fascia and movement patterns. So using the equipment in the Pilates studio. So for me in this season, I have to acknowledge is that motherhood is a big part. I have a husband that travels a lot. So I am in a place where I need to teach enough because my kids are going to be launching somewhat soon. And it's important that I maintain my integrity in finishing up. I just finished up my traditional Pilates mentorship with Hillary in Los Angeles, and it has a Kathy Grant lineage. I continue to study. I continue to take sound. So it's a lot of small pieces that I do every day, and I don't have a lot of time because I am divided with my schedule. But it's a fulfilling place and it's an exciting place. And I know I'll continue on this journey as my kids come out of the house. Yeah, so it's been busy.
It is. This is a really full season for so many of us in this middle age and where kids are getting ready to launch. I'm feeling that in this season for sure. And I think, the important thing is what I love is that all of our businesses look a little bit different depending where we're at. And there isn't just one way. And I think so much of that I know for myself and my business that, having someone to be able to bounce the ideas off, to, check in with, to be collaborative with, lets us all forge our own path because our businesses look very different side by side.
Yeah. And, you have a functioning home studio where my home studio functions for me for virtual sessions and a few of teacher one-on-one sessions. And again, in this time period where I'm at, I'm limited in what I can offer and what I want to offer to maintain just that for us because of my husband traveling. So we do have different businesses, but we do have some similarities. And I think it comes down to the type of business that we want to run. Both of us have a really, we want to make sure the client has an experience. So it's experiential versus fitness. And I think that's what differentiates us, as well as we are focused on such integrity of the work. Like the method for us is really important. And for me, that is also true with breath work and sound. There's so many sound teachers that actually don't understand harmony and holding space and integrity of sound. So it goes the same with Pilates and sound healing and breath work. So there's a sense of, for both of us, is that we lead with integrity alongside of passion, right? Because we wouldn't be in this industry doing the things we're doing without the passion.
100%. And I think, our business has actually evolved a lot over the last 5 years, which is crazy to kind of say that, right?
Yeah.
But so really where this season 2 came from is that we've talked about it in the first episode, talked about ROI, but not just return on investment, but a return on intention. And I feel like, so for me, the importance of having and the value of having you as just that business bestie is that we can really, talk about collaborations. We can kind of, mirror to each other like ideas, and we can challenge them, but we also can be cheerleaders for each, right?
For
And I
sure.
think that piece also brings us back to like I really trust and value your opinion. Like I know I can call my bestie on the worst day of entrepreneurship. I can cry. It's happened. We can cry and we can pick ourselves up and carry on. But that it's really important that we're, even though you're a solo entrepreneur, sitting behind your desk doing it yourself is really the hardest way to do it. I think that's really maybe the path of least resistance, but it's the most work if you do it that way.
Yes, because sometimes when you're in it, in the thick of it, you can't see out of it. And you also need someone to reflect, like, well, wait a second, let's look at what you do well. Let's take it back a step or two, and let's talk about like where you flourish. So when you gave a talk, Amy, I think it was a women's event in Canada, and I got to see you as a speaker, and I was like, oh, she is
Oh,
so
geez.
good at this. Like, it was a video that you sent to me, and I was like, she is so good at this. And that was me. I'm like, what about a podcast? Because you're so good at speaking your mind, you're so good at talking to women. And that's how, that conversation is like, you're a coach. So many coaches do this. You do this so well. Like, it's such an easy skill set for you. So why not? Why not go there? What do you have to lose?
Yeah. And I think, having that ability to reflect back to you also helps keep you in your creative alignment, and it ultimately creates actual mutual growth, right? The person doing the mirroring
Yeah.
learns, right? And you also then start to see yourself perhaps in a different life. Yeah, I forgot about that speaking engagement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I didn't. So
Yeah.
that for me was like a moment of like, oh, she really has this, and it's outside of the Pilates box that she can
Totally.
do, that's in her wheelhouse, but it's
Yeah.
so natural. And then for me, I mean, Amy, during 2020, I sent her a picture. I was like, gosh, I would love to do sound training. And she really was like, why not? Why not do it? Follow the breadcrumbs. Like, what do you have to lose? And sometimes we just need, not sometimes, I don't know where I would be today without having you and another friend, Joy, like in my corner saying, go for it, do it, like lean into what you know to be true. I think as women, oftentimes we're looking for approval, but maybe it's just encouragement from our inner circle.
Yeah. And I just taught this past weekend, University of Pilates, where we did some mindset work, which we do as part of our teacher training. And one of the things, and it's so interesting to me, is my co-collaborator, Bonnie Lynn, she said, from the first time I taught this, it has always stuck in her head, being sometimes able to say it out loud and asking ourselves, well, is it true? Like, is it true that I can't or I can do this? What is the truth in it? Because sometimes if we're behind our desk, head down, our mind can, play that little bit of a game with us that not all of our thoughts are actually truth. Sometimes we got to pause and say, hold on a second, you know, um, is this true? Can I do this? And should I do this? And they're very different questions.
Yeah. And what's also coming up for me is that if you're asking that by yourself,
Mhm.
usually you're going to hit a roadblock. So
Totally.
if you have the phone call, and Amy and I sat down and we did a yearly review, and then kind of coming into the fall, and this is really one of my busiest seasons of life right now until my daughter turns 16 and has that ability to drive. Um, Amy said, well, what about a VA to help you with your socials? Because I was just not having the hours of my day. So, and I was like, really? And so I was like, okay, why not? What do I have to lose? And I can support another woman who does her in her business. So we need that reflected back. We asking myself, I wouldn't have gotten anywhere with that. I've been like, yeah, I'll just keep doing it the same way I've done it before. And
Yeah.
that's the difference.
Yeah. Challenging. And so I think, like, just for our listeners, I hope you find a business bestie. If you don't have one, keep looking. I think as an entrepreneur, it's important just to have that, like-minded entrepreneur in your corner, because you learn from each other. And that's kind of the cool thing. And you don't have to do it alone. In today's world, I hope we've all heard this enough that now we start to apply it, and that you do have to be intentional about who is in that, in the hive. Who's
A hun-
there and does it support
100%.
and encourage you, right?
And then for me, like being your person and a few other teachers, people, like I love seeing them kill it. Like I
Right.
love seeing them thrive and taking big steps in their business and doing hard things. I love cheering them on. I love that. Just feels so good because it's like, yeah, I was part of that influence of helping them see themselves.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
that's kind of the best part
Yes.
is watching, because sometimes we don't always see ourselves as others see us. And sometimes, having someone make that put, I'm like, of course you should do sound. That would be the next best. And I love being able to be in person in a sound session and feel that energy. And I'm like, of course, that is the next step. I can so see that. And you've come into that from such a broad background, but it has brought you into that to hone that skill so well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about you for a second. So Amy has her classes are full. She's not building, she's built. She's built. She came back after the pandemic and she's in a place where she needs teachers. She needs to scale. And Rachel Rogers is an amazing coach and teacher. And we read her book and it's really, for me, it changed my mindset about money and why, how, and where we want to go. And Amy, I could see, I was like, girl, you are ready for something bigger outside of the Pilates community. You've done all the conferences, you've run the conferences. And,
Yeah.
Rachel was having this return on investment conference
Hmm.
in January, which happened to get rescheduled because it was in Los Angeles or Orange County. So it got moved to the summer. And Amy said, I'm in, I'm doing it. I was like, yes, you are. You're doing this.
Well,
Yes.
if you remember though, back, I think I said, oh, let's wait and we'll go in 2026.
Mm,
And then you
okay.
said to
Yes.
me, no, you can't wait that long.
Oh, I did.
You did. You did. You said you can't wait that long. And I was like, you know what? She's right. I can't wait that long. We got to go all in on this. I
Mhm.
would have never gone to that conference without that conversation. And it goes
Okay.
back to that, like, we don't always know just those little things that we say that have great impact, right?
Yep. I forgot. I knew we had a conversation around
Yeah,
it, but it's kind
I'm
of
like
like, yeah.
2026, and you're like, you can't wait till 2026. We can go again in 2026. And now there
Mm,
isn't one in 2026.
yeah.
So that sort of stuck with me. And that kind of goes, to this, you know, Carrie really saw me and where I was in my business, and where now, like, not so much that for me, the currency isn't, yes, we need money, and I'm all about women making money and having sustainable businesses. But when my business thrives, then I actually get my actual currency back, which is time. And to me, time is far more valuable. I've got 4 kids, I've got 1 not well, and I've got 2 ready, my last 2 ready to launch. So my
Yeah.
time is what actually holds a lot more value to me. I would have never been able, if I would have stayed in that small thinking, had I not gone to this conference. And this season is full of stories of these women I was able to connect with and these incredible businesses they are running all over the world. And we're going to hear all of those stories in this season. I think, that check in, Rachel Rogers, that book, and you and I both have said, that was the first time I've heard a woman talk about money in the way that Rachel does.
Yeah.
It is so empowering. It is, we should expect it, not, expect to work for nothing and make nothing. And they're really, and she challenges you. Rachel's a big energy. She really, challenges like, okay, I think like after I read the book, I got a housekeeper and a VA. Because it was like, why are you doing this? Right? And it was about freeing up our time, and there haven't been a lot of examples. So I really challenge any female entrepreneur or male entrepreneur listening to this podcast is to read her book, We Should All Be Millionaires. Because again, we all have started somewhere, and maybe the goal is 6 or 7 figures or 8 figures. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But what is your return on investment? How do you get the most out of it?
And I think for me, that book helped me put in perspective of my mindset around money. And because I also work in this spiritual realm about manifestation. So if I have an energy block about how much I'm capable of receiving, then I'm gonna hit that. And so I had a lot of examples this year because I was able to change that, from not enough, more than enough, or it's an endless possibility that the money it's always there.
Mm-hmm.
And when you operate in that different vibration and frequency of manifestation, miracles happen. So that's us. And I know it's a little woo, but there is something about vibrational energy and resonance that when you open yourself up, like things start to just drop in and happen in a really organic way, but the synchronicity starts to happen. And I think that's where life gets really playful and interesting and yeah, magnificent, to be honest with you.
And Carrie is an expert manifester. She really is. And this is, I think, too, it's a missing piece sometimes as entrepreneurs. We don't do the work here, right? Like Rachel very much shares in her book her journey, and she even shared a little bit more in person at the conference about, mindset and sometimes like roadblocks where you do hit them. And again, it comes back to, and I know you and I talk about this a ton, is core values.
Yeah.
Core values, we've got a great episode coming on core values. But if, again, that having that person, and it can be more than one person. I actually even challenge you to have a bestie outside your industry, because that actually is very valuable. And when we get out of the core values and we get out of that's where we get out of alignment. When we say yes to those things outside of that realm, and then you're like, why did I do that? Whereas you have honed in so well, which then actually I think clears the way for that manifestation path so clearly.
So part of that, I think, is that deep dive. For me, one of my core values is truth, but inclusivity. So whatever decision I make that's good for me has to be good for everyone around me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I pour into that everyone, like what is best for everyone, that's very liberating. That's very grounding at the same time, because I feel that's how we make change. and progress is when we really are inclusive. And I know that's a huge value for you as well.
Huge value for me as well. Yes. And when we get away from it, we are out of alignment. That sucks the joy out of business so quickly, let me tell you. Now, and is it work to stay in alignment? 100%. I think too, as we talk about leveling up, and having someone or more than one, I highly recommend more than one. But it does challenge both of us to be better and maybe even dream bigger, right? And not get, sometimes you can't see that far ahead of you. But like sometimes when you're just talking about all these things, the inspiration comes to something much bigger than what you've anticipated.
Yes. And when you are in busy mode, you can't see it. When you're head down, like in the thick of it, you can't even manifest it because you're so busy doing. And those breaks on being, and you and I are really intentional of like when we take the break to revamp, to read, to pause, to sit in silence. Like those are huge. So let's not like undermine, like you're not always going, and I take 6 to 8 weeks off in the summer. I take 3 weeks off in the winter, and I take a couple of breaks in the fall and the spring to reset, because those are my time to come into myself. And if I'm always running the rat race and I'm never pause, I can't see it.
Can't. It's so true. You're better at it than I am. I think because I've got double the kids.
You do. So I have 2, you have 4. You win.
It's not a winning. It's just
there's a different time management, right?
And our kids are at a little different stages right now. So the time management is different.
Yeah.
The power of the pause and the break is so important. And we've talked about it because I just lived through a summer where I didn't have the breaks accordingly. And what I thought would be restorative was not just due to circumstances and things that came up. But I did make sure I carved out enough time to be able to get, for me, both of us, it's time at the ocean. That's where we are happiest. And that pause for me that's the creative piece. That's when I can, even for you, when you were doing the audit, was like, I'm like, you need to go and sit on, think of this a little bit, because trying to do it while we're all, the busyness doesn't work. You need to just be. And I think it's so important.
Well, both of you and I are really focused on intention. We look at the needs of our clients, we look at the needs of ourselves, and we make decisions based on that. And again, it comes back to like inclusiveness. What's good for me is going to be good for my client. And that's where I think as women, we have a lot of misses, because we're so conditioned that busy wins the race. But like you said, sustainability wins the race.
And sustainability, but you've got to enjoy the ride. If you're burned out, worn out, dead, exhausted every single day, then it's not that life is not serving you. And hey, ladies, I'll tell you, when you get to middle age, you need even more things in place to support you as we enter a new chapter.
Yes. All I'm going to say is yes to that, as I had my blood work drawn this morning. So yes.
Right. So I want to talk a little bit about the ripples effect of having a business bestie, how it ripples out into our communities. And maybe we could talk a little bit, because both of us facilitate community when we're lucky enough to do it together. It's my favorite thing.
Yes.
But that we do it, independently as well. So maybe you could speak to a little bit about, the sound circles, your group breath work. You've really you bring people together to have a very different experience than when we're moving, but I think an equally important experience for those that are open to it.
So most people, right, the easy thing is to exercise. We know it's good for us. We know that we need it. It's pretty, I won't say easy to market, but it's part of one of those pillars of health, right? We've got to eat well, we've got to exercise, we have to sleep well. Those are the 1, 2, 3 buckets, right? You can't get around it. Those are what you need to do. But there is a fourth bucket that is not talked about as much, which is the nervous system restoration. And that is where
to be talked about.
and that should be the fourth pillar, but right now we've only have 3 pillars. And we do have a population in the US that's 60 to 70% overweight and obese. So I understand movement is totally key. It's key. This nervous system restoration is really important. It helps us calm our nervous system down, get out of that fight or flight, deal with past trauma. And what I have found with my people that are my movement people is that they need the other side. So they're training, but we aren't making progress, or we need to, or they're a lot of times I have a lot of teachers that come to me. They need to downshift, but they can't do it by themselves. And they need someone else to facilitate that space. And those teachers, I do have a pretty personal relationship with. They come to me with questions and problems and situations. And by coming in and creating these monthly sound bath, and I can call it a sound ritual, where I spend some time thinking about the people that are coming and what their needs are, I'm able to really facilitate a space where no one can look at their iWatch, where they actually have to breathe and they have to be still and quiet. And I give permission slips like, hey, if you can't be still, just change position and just work through it. By giving that, they end up being just still, so still. And I'm always like, that was not me with my first or second experience in sound. So will be my third season of offering these, which I think is amazing. And every time they get a little deeper and deeper. And sound isn't a practice you have to do like movement 3 days a week.
Right.
I mean, it's lovely if you have the time and space. Yes. Okay. I'm not going to say don't do it. But it isn't necessarily sustainable. So by doing the sound bath, you're really going to get rid of that energetic tension in the body, and you're going to be able to bring the body into homeostasis.
Yeah. And so as she gathers people, and then when we've had the opportunity to gather teachers together for movement and for breath work and some sound and some fascia work, we really feel the power of the room. It is palpable. And that's, we need more spaces like that. We need more invitation to spaces like that, because that's really where the magic and the healing begin.
And it's looked at like novelty as opposed to being a foundation. Right. And I believe we're just a little, you and I with this, we understand the power of it, and it's the education piece. It's like, what is Pilates? And everybody knows now. But what is sound healing? What is breath work? That again, I'm in that educational piece.
Yeah. But you've been there, because we were in that in Pilates for a long time too.
A long time.
The never-ending education, right?
Yes.
So I really hope to our listeners that this, brings to you that this is your sign to find your people, or make space so that you can find them, because we could just put it out there, but if we actually don't have any room to facilitate connection and establish relationships, that makes it really hard for us to find our people. So maybe just opening some space, and maybe just spending a few moments thinking about, what would that look like? How could that, benefit my life? How could you contribute and benefit to someone else's life? And, we always say, like, the archive isn't just a podcast. It's a call to return to connection, to collaboration, and to a collective healing. We all are in this together. And there are so many studies coming out right now that the world, we really are feeling lonelier than we ever have. And I really challenge you to make that call out to, like, cultivating that hive energy, because it really is magic. All right, to wrap this up, Carrie, and I didn't tell you I was going to do this.
Okay.
We're going to do 3 little rapid fire questions.
Okay.
Are you ready for it?
Ready.
Okay. All right. One word to describe what someone needs in a business bestie.
One word.
One word.
Encouragement.
I love it. I love it. Mine's integrity. 2. What was the moment you knew that you and I were a good creative match?
The vibration,
I agree.
the energy.
Just the reciprocal energy was like, how did I not know this person for all this time? Like, who else can I talk to about these books that I'm reading, these podcasts I'm listening to,
Yeah.
the struggles that I'm having in my business or in our industry? That was, I knew very, very quickly. And what do you think, this is to the entrepreneur, what is one thing an entrepreneur should do today to invite a bestie connection?
Be vulnerable.
Mine's make the invitation. If you don't ask, you won't receive, right?
Yeah, you have to be vulnerable. And the vulnerability is the ask.
100%. Okay. Thank you, Carrie, for being
You're
here.
welcome. Thanks
We're
for
going to
having
put
me.
all of her links in the show notes and get ready for this season 2. It's bigger energy, deeper stories, real connection. We're going to share these stories of, I called Carrie from ROI. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this.
And I wanted to cry and go rescue you. I was like, you know what? I'll leave the kids. I'll just fly in for the day, hold her hand to the first one, and then fly home that night.
And I just needed to hear, no, you've got this. And I did have it. But it, bigger things have come to me because of our friendship and because of our ability to just be like ourselves and share. And I want that for all of you listening. So tag your business bestie if in this podcast, share it with them, and let's help all of us to rise together. And let's use the hashtag ARC Bestie. And I can't wait for you guys to hear this next season. And thank you, Carrie, for all things. You're my favorite.
Oh, well, thank you for your kind words and this podcast. I love it. So please like, subscribe, and share.
Yay!